Hey and welcome. I'm your boy Solo. In this video, I'll be going over a few of the AMD updates that have been happening. What does AMD offer to streamers? Did this here update change anything? We're going to cover that a little bit today, and let's find out. Before we waste any more time, let's jump into it. So if you've been keeping up with the news lately and keeping up with the launches, you will already know about AMD stepping up their game for streamers in general by adding noise suppression to their driver software now. Didn't jump them into the lead by far. It definitely didn't do that. But this latest update, if anything, just hardly made AMD visible as streaming hardware. So far, their encoder is still in deep need of help and still by a big margin worse than Nvidia's offering for gaming and streaming. The top choice will still be Nvidia hands down. But I definitely like to think that this is a big step for AMD in the right direction. And I'm hoping that this is on par or better than what is already offered by other hardware. I don't have a 6000 series GPU or a CPU to test out this here feature to see how much different it is than Nvidia's offering. So I don't really have a really good way to compare it yet. That's something I will have to wait for. But if it is something that you want to see, definitely get subscribed, because I definitely will be trying to cover this later on in the future, and I'll be going over the updates as they take place. I'm excited to see that AMD is finally entering the streaming space, at least with one or two features, so I will be doing this in a future update, so get subscribed if you'd like to see that content. If that is something that you want to see, definitely let me know in the description below. I would like to know if anyone is interested in some side-by-side testing. The plan is to get one of the GPUs and do a little bit of testing. If I get enough want for it, I will definitely be trying to make it. That aside, let's look at what AMD had to say about the new features. I'll just jump over to their website here. Now that I loaded up to their website, this is the page that they have, the landing page for their noise suppression that's been going on. Quite a bit of the news has been going around this here, and I'm just going to go take a look through it, my first look at it so far. So the first thing that's going to be is clear, crisp communications, where AMD is explaining AMD noise suppression reduces background audio noise. Of course it should. That's the whole point of noise suppression software, so I'm glad that they state that for people that didn't know. And it's just going to remove it from the surrounding environment, providing great clarity and improved concentration, whether you are focused on an important meeting or staying locked in on a competitive game. You can click to learn more, and it'll bring you to a page that'll give you a little bit more information on exactly what this is. We're just going to scroll down and continue on here, see what else we get from AMD this time around. Okay, there's going to be a little video and introduction here. I went through and watched it. It didn't give me really many answers to any of the questions that I had. It does go down through and shows you the integration, the audio enhancement here, the intelligence audio enhancement, and a couple of the options that are going to show up. So there's only 3 easy steps to turn this here noise suppression on for your input and your outputs. So that's important. It'll cover both your inputs and your outputs as well. And that sounds pretty good so far. It looks like they're going to make it easy to implement. This does look like it's more than just turning it on and off button and adjusting a slider, but this is improvements. There's going to be some growing pains. AMD has been late to the market for a long time, just like their encoder, their noise suppression. I don't expect much from it yet. It's going to be something that they're just going to get off the ground and hopefully improve a lot. I'd like to get a good test of it to see how it's working. We're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom here, where it's going to let us know what we're going to need to be able to run the AMD suppression. So it looks like there's only going to be Windows 10 and Windows 11 support. That's unfortunate that this here doesn't look like it's going to be available to Linux users. So I find that very unfortunate. It's something I'd expect that they'd update in the future. I do hope to see that they update it for the Linux community. That's a big chunk of community that use AMD, and just for this here feature not to be readily available on Linux and other operating systems beside Windows is something I don't like to see. And for the hardware, this is where it gets complicated. AMD is not going to support older hardware, even though that there's some updates that you can go find. If you Google how to make this here work, there is actually an add-on that makes this here work with older AMD hardware. I don't suggest doing it or going and searching out, but if it is something you want to know, you can make this work for older hardware, and AMD locking you out of it in this here software is actually kind of silly. I don't know why they did it, whether it was for whatever reason it's not going to work on older hardware. There's going to be some issues. There's already a mod available that you can go get from the public, the community, that has already addressed this here problem and made it work for other video cards. So there's no reason that they needed to do this. It says that you are going to need to have a Ryzen 6000 series processor with integrated graphics, or it's going to be an AMD Radeon RX 6000 series desktop graphics or newer. This is also going to require the Adrenaline Edition 22.7.1 and newer. That's not a problem. Yes, get the new software, but this here driver limitation being only for the 6000 series, I find very unfortunate again. Like, AMD's trying here. It's going to take a long time before people are moving from, like, there's still so many people still on RX 580s. There's going to be so many people that aren't going to be used, unless you're on the newest, latest, and greatest on the 6000 series. You're not going to have these features available to you. So I think AMD doing that's kind of unfortunate. It might have needed to be done. I don't know the specifics behind it, but I do find that's unfortunate. And a community member has already fixed this for a lot of people. There may be some errors. User discretion is advised. But that is already something that the public made available. The community built something, so AMD could definitely have made this here available. And another thing here that it limits is the AMD noise suppression will not install on systems equipped with Realtek ACP based ANR. So that's going to be another piece of hardware that's built onto your motherboard that may be an issue. So I don't know if that's going to be a limitation that you're not going to be able to get around, or something you're going to be able to disable, or if there's going to be a workaround for that. So that's something else I don't really know anything about. I'm going to have to get one of these here and test some of these here things out to see how easy this is going to be to just integrate into your old system with older stuff. And if it's going to be as easy as plugging it in with a 6000 series and having it. And on that note, I do feel like AMD is falling far behind in this area. With only small advances for streamers, I hope to see more coming from them in the future. But at this point, they have it out of reach for most average people. Like I said, the hardware, if you're not a 6000 series, so if you're not buying brand new this year, you do not get this feature. So that's unfortunate. These are things that are going to be a little bit out of reach for people for a little while. And even though the lowest 6000 series is still a cheap GPU, like, everyone's already bought a GPU, so it is something that you'd have to upgrade to be able to use. So unless I upgrade my CPU to a 6000 series with a graphics processor on it, or get a 6000 series GPU, I won't be able to do any of the testing. So I hope a little backward compatibility is something that's achieved in the future. Like, I do hope that they roll this here back to some older hardware, like the RX 580s. I know that's really far back, but that hardware is still absolutely adequate and still works fine, and in most cases does the job just great. I don't see why they wouldn't include some older ones, hopefully later on, like the 5700 XT. That one's just barely the last gen that launched. I figure some of those will get the updates later on, but we're just gonna have to wait to see for that stuff. But that's really all there was to say about the AMD's updates. I like seeing where things are going. I like a little bit of advancement. I like to see that they're doing something for streamers and not just leaving it in the wind. They're making improvements, just it's very slow, and they're adopting it a lot slower than I'd like to see. And they're just not there yet for streaming. If I have to pick between NVIDIA and AMD GPUs, I'm gonna go with NVIDIA every single time. I stream and I record a lot. Enough that if I didn't have the features that NVIDIA had to offer, I'd be stuck in a lot of situations where I'd have to just make do with what AMD has. So I'm always choosing, I'm leaning towards NVIDIA GPUs more and more. I used to have AMD everything. I have two 580s that I've been using since they came out. I find they just don't do the job that a basic NVIDIA bottom of the barrel does, have all of those features that I need for streaming and recording. That's just my thoughts and opinions on it though. Let me know what you think in the description below. Do you think AMD is falling behind and dropping the ball? Do you think maybe this is a big play and this is something that AMD is going to move up to and start adopting more streamer things, and this is just going to be do you think this is just the ground level where they're finally going to step their game up and get in here for streamers? Or do you think that they're dropping the ball and just falling further behind the hill and just barely playing catch up? Let me know in the description below. I'd like to hear more about what you guys have to think about it, because this is just a new one for me and I've just been doing a segment updates. This is going to be my first one. I just want to know what you guys think of it. I want to know what you think about the format, and anything that you have to say about this here, let me know in the comments below. If you think I forgot or left something out, definitely leave it in the comments below. And if you like or found this video helpful, hit the thumbs up and get subscribed for more content. Thanks for watching.